Hello there, you beautiful people! My name is Willow, and welcome to another Fallout New Vegas challenge run. In my last run, I tried to beat Fallout 4 with only unarmed damage, which was quite the struggle, so today I decided to take on something more fun, as we find out if I can beat Fallout New Vegas's very hardcore difficulty with only shotguns. Before we get into the run, let's lay down some ground rules. I can only use shotguns to deal damage. I must play the entire game on the very hard difficulty with hardcore mode on. I can't use any bugs or glitches on purpose to exploit the game. I will only be using the Viva New Vegas mod pack, and I cannot use console commands for anything but fixing bugs. With the rules of the run laid out, let's take a look at the challenge itself. The first thing I want to address is that I will not be using any energy weapons. I know that in my previous shotgun run in Fallout 4, you all wanted to see that, but I plan to use the shotgun style energy weapons in another run in the future. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the weapons available to me in this run, starting with what I'm going to call the front lawn group of shotguns. This includes the Caravan, single shot, and sawn-off shotguns, as well as all of their variants. These are great for dealing with vermin and trespassers, but aren't going to do very well when I run into enemies with better armor. After that, we have a group I'm calling the Boomsticks, and this includes the hunting and lever action shotguns. These are the first upgrades I want to get in this run, and are going to be strong in the mid to late game, being able to deal with stronger enemies thanks to their larger ammo capacity. Past that, there's only two weapons left that I'm interested in, and these are the Dinner Bell and Riot shotguns. Starting with a Riot shotgun, which is easily the strongest shotgun in the game, being the only semi-automatic one and featuring the largest ammo capacity. This combined with the And Stay Back perk makes it an absolute powerhouse. Dinner Bell, on the other hand, is a unique version of the hunting shotgun and is my personal favorite shotgun in the game, and I hope I can get strong enough to obtain it during this run, as the quest to get it is quite brutal. Oh, I forgot to come up with a name for this last group. You know what? Go down below and leave a comment with a name for this group, and I'll give the person with the most liked name a copy of Fallout New Vegas on Steam. Also, while you're down there, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and with that, let's jump right into the run, where the game starts with one of the best cutscenes in video game history that ends with a scene where Benny informs me that the game was rigged from the start while introducing me to his friend Maria. I was a little bit distracted watching this, as Jessup made me laugh incredibly hard. Just look at all those expressions. He doesn't know where he is or what time it is. Anyways, I get shot in the head and wake up a few days later in the house of a doctor named Mitchell, and he apparently saved my life, and it's here where I create the great and honorable Bucky Shot, our protagonist. I then stand up from my would-be deathbed and look around the doc's house, which is just dreadful. I mean, look at these walls. They're so bland and ugly. The good doctor could really use something like these absolutely stunning metal posters from Displate. Now, normally I don't bother much with decorating, as it always seemed like such a hassle to do so, and I was a bit worried my landlord would be upset if I messed up the walls by putting holes in them. But after seeing the awesome designs from Displate, I knew I wanted to try them out, so when they came and offered me a sponsorship, I jumped on the opportunity, and I have to say I'm extremely happy I did, because they offer over 2 million officially licensed pieces of artwork, and the 4 prints I got from them are just stunning and really bring my room to life. The unboxing and installation of these posters was really easy and intuitive. It took less than 5 minutes to go from box to wall, and I think my favorite thing about these posters is that I can change them out in seconds, since it's just magnets holding them to the wall. The posters themselves are incredibly detailed, and I don't feel like my camera does justice to just how vibrantly they pop in real life. Display does offer some limited edition posters which were really cool, but personally I decided to go with these 2 Fallout themed ones that really just make me want to go take on the wasteland, as well as a Cyberpunk Edgerunners poster, as I enjoyed the anime, and last but not least I had to go with a League of Legends poster that features my main champion Jinx. Overall, I'm incredibly happy with the quality, and the fact that it doesn't damage the walls is great for whenever I need to move again. If you want to stop living like Doc Mitchell here and set up your wasteland shack with the absolute best posters in town, then make sure to head over to the description and use my link alongside code WILLOW at checkout to get the best deal on your order, as well as support the channel while you're at it. Thank you so much to Displate, and with that, let's get back into the run, where I head over to the Vigor Tester machine and set up recap my special stats, which are 5 in strength for weapon requirements, 5 in perception for perk requirements, 8 in endurance for survivability, 1 in charisma because my shotgun speaks for itself, 5 in intelligence for experience gains and skill points on level ups, 8 in agility for action points and reload speed, and an 8 in luck for gambling and crit chance. I then go through Doc's psych evaluation and tag the guns, barter, and speech skills before taking the skilled and hot-blooded perks. I then leave his house and immediately put all of the DLC items into this dumpster, as I always felt it's kind of a cop-out to use all of these free items from the DLCs at the beginning of the game, so I only keep the vanilla items. Oh, Cinderella, I need the vanilla items stat. Either way, I use the vanilla items alongside the Vault 13 canteen, as that one felt kind of fair to keep because it just kind of helps with hardcore mode. And yeah, moving on, I mosey my way into the Goodsprings general store and barter for a single-shot shotgun from Chet before making my way over to the Prospector Saloon, where I speak with Sunny Smiles and agree to have her teach me to defend myself in the wastes. We head outside and I use my shotgun to violently murder some insidious bottles before heading off to clear the Goodsprings water pumps with her, where I quickly dispatch the geckos infesting the various pumps one shotgun shell at a time, and it's honestly quite easy. The single shot shotgun may be a bit weak, but against early game enemies it shreds. I end up saving a woman from the geckos before speaking with Sunny again, who asks if I want to learn how to live off the land. I say sure, and she sends me off to go get some ingredients for healing powder, starting with the Goodsprings graveyard, where I nearly die as I fight through a bunch of bloatflies, but eventually I manage to clear them out and grab one of the ingredients for healing powder alongside some of Benny's cigarette butts from where he buried me. I then head over to the Goodsprings school and kill a couple of giant mantises? Wait, really? Multiple mantis are named mantises and not manti? Why is English such a contradictory language? Anyways, they aren't really a threat to me, so I just grab the second ingredient for the healing powder and return to Sunny Smiles, who teaches me how to use a campfire to craft various goods. With that, Sunny tells me I need to go meet with a woman named Trudy who runs the Prospector Saloon, so I head over to the watering hole and witness a confrontation between the fine proprietor of this establishment and some kind of delinquent who can't get his way without threatening violence. I then speak with her and learn that the argument was about a man named Ringo hiding out in the nearby gas station. So naturally, I head over and investigate the gas station, and after he points a gun at me, I play a game of Caravan with him, and I have no idea how this game works. Like, seriously, what's going on? Anyways, I go ahead and offer to help him with the men that are chasing him, and it turns out that they are a group of escaped convicts called the Powder Gangers, and I need to convince the town of Goodsprings to help me fight them off. So I head out and recruit Sunny Smiles to help before convincing Trudy, Chet, Doc Mitchell, and Easy Pete to give us supplies, explosives, and people to fight against the Powder Gangers. This was all really easy, and I start the battle by speaking with Ringo at the gas station, and the fight itself was a cakewalk as the Goodsprings settlers do the heavy lifting and I just take pot shots with my shotgun before looting all of the dead convicts and selling their equipment to Chet, and with that I take my pocket full of caps and hit the road. My goal is to reach the nearby town of Prim, and along my way there I have to fight through some Powder Gangers, and the fight is relatively one-sided as the Powder Gangers don't get off that many shots before I kill them very dead with my single-shot shotgun. Continuing on my way, I kill some geckos and a radroach before reaching the perilous town of Prim, and upon arriving there I get warned by an NCR soldier that convicts have taken over the town, and for whatever reason I take the fact that the convicts are here too personally and decide to start fighting my way through all of these escaped convicts in the town, and it's a really tough battle. I nearly die a couple of times as I try and clear out the streets and roller coaster, oddly enough, of these escaped convicts, but I do manage to kill them all and continue my campaign against them by entering the Bison Hotel. The fight inside is incredibly close, and I have this incredibly tense moment halfway through through the hotel as I thought I had run out of ammo as I kill a convict with my last shell. Luckily, I realized that I have another type of 20 gauge shell, and with that I continue fighting my way through the hotel, and despite all of the close calls, I slowly but surely take down each convict one by one until all that's left standing is me and Deputy Beagle, who I set free. I speak with him and he asks me to find a new sheriff for the town of Prim, and I agree to do so, before heading off to speak with Johnson Nash, kind of the leader of this town, as well as Deputy Beagle, to find out that Benny passed through Prim on his way towards Nipton. I then head over to the NCR camp across the bridge and speak with the lead NCR officer and ask him if he can provide a sheriff to the town of Prim, and he said he'd love to do so but needs reinforcements and that I should head over to the Mojave Outpost if I want to try and find help for him. So I head down the road, killing some more convicts and gang members on my way towards the outpost, and upon reaching the two giant statues, I head up to the roof and speak with the NCR ranger there named Ghost, who asks me to go check on the nearby town of Nipton. I agree and then go use my barter skill to convince Major Knight to send another squad to Prim, and after that I tell Ranger Jackson that I'll clear the nearby road for him, and with that I leave the outpost and kill a bunch of ants on a nearby road for Jackson, and this was incredibly easy as the ants couldn't get close enough to hit me before they died. I then spend a while dying horrible deaths over and over to a nearby group of Viper gang members that are just like so numerous. There's so many of them, and normally I don't think it's like this, but I just can't withstand all of their gunfires, so I die over and over before deciding just to sneak past them because it's not worth that hassle. Once past them, I make my way into the town of Nipton, where I had hoped to find Benny, but instead find a man who won the lottery alongside a pretentious furry who wants me to spread the word of his favorite salad. With that, I head back to Prim and tell the officer that I spoke to earlier that I got him another squad of reinforcements to bring law back to the town of Prim. I then speak with the newly unemployed Beagle and get a good laugh out of the fact that he's mad at me for finding a new sheriff when he's the one who asked for it. After that, I head back to the Mojave Outpost and turn in the quests to Ranger Ghost and Jackson respectively. With that, I've kind of run out of things to do in the southwest corner of the map, so I move on following the tracks of Benny, encountering some Viper gang members in this canyon, and I kill a couple of them before running away as the others are too far away to combat with my shotguns. I then come across a caravan that is ambushed by some Legion troops, and I end up leveling up off this, which critically gets me my melee weapon skill to 45. Now you may be asking, why am I bothering with getting the melee weapon skill up when I can't even use it? Well, that's because at level 8 there's a perk I want to take called the Cowboy perk, which gives me a flat damage bonus to the lever action shotgun, which I hope to find soon. Anyways, I continue on my path to Novac, and when I arrive I do a bit of trading at the general store and with the traveling doctor that's in town. I then speak with Manny, the day sniper and the dinosaur, and he says that he'll tell me where Benny went if I clear out the ghouls of the nearby Repcon test site. This sounds fun, so I head over and start introducing my new ghoul friends to religion as I spend a while making them more holy one by one. The combat isn't difficult, but rather it's taxing. The ghouls don't deal much damage to me and are eating through my ammo very quickly. I'm worried I won't have enough ammo to clear this dungeon, but I keep pressing forward. Oh, also, when I entered the facility, a man came on the intercom system sounding like a ghoul and told me to come find him in some room on the east side of the building. After painstakingly fighting my way there, I find myself at a room with an intercom near a door, and the man tells me to enter, which I do, before meeting with him, and while he sounds like a ghoul, he definitely isn't one. I don't have a high enough speech skill to convince him that he's human, but he sends me to go speak with a glowing one ghoul named Jason Bright, who talks about demons in the basement and asks me to go clear them out, and it's all a little bit weird, but apparently he's the leader of something called the Bright Brotherhood, which is a bunch of ghouls that worship something in the basement of this building. You know, I wasn't really paying that much attention, but I go down into the basement and die immediately to a nightkin. Yeah, this is gonna be rough. On my next attempt, I use a bunch of chems alongside kiting various nightkin around the rooms of the basement to slowly but surely kill each and every nightkin in the basement. Oh, also, the nightkin are like blue super mutants that were driven crazy by using stealth boys a little bit too much. Anyways, after clearing and exploring the basement, I encounter their leader, a nightkin named Davison, Davison, and he tells me that if I can get him the stealth boys from this facility, he'll leave. So he gives me a key and I head into this room to find a ghoul who explains that he's been trapped in there, killing all the mutants that enter. He asks me to go find his ghoul lady friend who got separated during the commotion, and I tell him I already found her and that she's dead. He says that's a shame and leaves the basement so that I can find the stealth boys, but all I find is a terminal that reveals the stealth boy shipment was sent back before the Great War, so I take this information and tell Davison, who agrees to leave the basement, allowing the Bright Brotherhood to go back to their worship. With that, Jason asks me to help him get these rockets in the basement ready for the ghouls to go on a journey to the far beyond. Well, I'm not interested in stopping people from making bad decisions, so I go ahead and help him out by finding this special fuel near some ruins that are infested with geckos and buying the rocket control modules off an old lady named Gibson. With all of the preparations made, he reveals that the man who thinks he is a ghoul can't go with him as he isn't a ghoul, and I convince that man to go back to Novac and live his life there. After that, I head upstairs and launch the Bright Brotherhood off to the far beyond, completing the Come Fly With Me questline. With that, I return back to Novac and check in on the ghoul wannabe before telling Manny that the ghouls are gone. He then tells me that Benny was headed towards Vegas and planned to stop at the nearby Boulder City. I then go ahead and speak with Boone, the night sniper, and agree to find out who sold his wife to the Legion. I steal the key to the hotel's safe from this old lady and then use it to find a bill of sale for Carla. Is her name Carla? I'm not gonna go check. I think her name was Carla. With that, I head over to this old lady's house and lure her in front of the dinosaur, where I equip the first recon beret and Boone snipes her. I then give the bill of sale to Boone, who agrees to become my companion, and I immediately dismiss him before leaving Novac with my newfound information on Benny. While heading off down the road, I happen across a traveling merchant who just so happens to be selling a lever-action shotgun. It's nearly broken, but I buy it anyways before turning a few more Viper gang members into little more than fertilizer with little to no issue. I then make my way to the 188 trading post and recruit Veronica before dismissing her. I don't know why, but I feel like collecting some companions this run. Maybe I'll even use one if I feel it's needed. But beyond that, I head over to Boulder City and steal another lever action shotgun from the town bar, and after that I head inside the destroyed city and use my speech skill to convince Jessup and the NCR to end hostilities, while Jessup gives me Benny's engraved lighter and tells me that Benny is back in Vegas. I then start on my way over to Vegas myself and have a conversation with my robo-stalker Victor and a random NCR ranger who runs up to me and gives me a radio that I can use to call for help. After talking to these two, I make my way over to Camp McCarran and watch the NCR soldiers kill a ton of fiends and even kill a few myself, only to find myself over encumbered with all the loot. But I'm a stubborn person, so I spend the next 12 minutes of my life slowly walking over to the gun runners so I can sell all of the equipment and buy some ammo. I then head over to this destroyed caravan where I find another lever action shotgun, and it's at this point I decide I actually do want a companion in this run, but I don't want them to use anything but shotguns to keep in the spirit of the run. I know Cass uses a caravan shotgun by default, so I start by heading over to the Mojave Outpost and speaking with her. She points me to go work for the Crimson Caravan Company, so I head off to their headquarters and speak with a woman named Alice, who needs me to convince the man that she was sent here to replace to quit working for the company. So I head over to Freeside and make my way to the Atomic Wrangler Casino and Bar to find the man at a slot machine. He refuses to leave his job without a big severance package, so I tell him he'll get what he wants and then spend a long time gambling here to build up my caps. Luckily, I have a high enough luck stat. Why did I write it like that? Luckily, I have luck. Oh my god, now I'm sounding like a chicken. Either way, it doesn't take me very long to hit the gambling limit here at the Atomic Wrangler before returning to Alice, and she gives me a couple more jobs, one of which is to get Cass to sell her company to the Crimson Caravan. I agree to do all of these jobs before heading off to the New Vegas Medical Clinic, where I get the strength implant to ensure I meet the weapon requirements for all of the shotguns in the game. I then head over to the Strip to meet with Victor, who tells me that I need to meet with a man named Mr. House who runs the New Vegas casinos. I ignore his request and instead head into the Gamorra casino, where I gamble until they kick me out as well. I then return to the medical clinic once more, and this time I get the subdermal armor implant. With my fancy implants installed, I decide to go take Victor up on that meeting with Mr. House, so I head over to the Lucky 38 casino and ride the elevator up to the penthouse, where I speak with Mr. House, who offers me 4 times the original contract price to deliver the platinum chip to him. Oh, also, Benny stole the platinum chip from me at the beginning of the game. It's like the entire reason he shot. I don't think I mentioned that, but anyways, I leave the casino and get approached by an NCR soldier who tells me to go meet with Ambassador Crocker at the nearby embassy. I'm not sure which faction I'm gonna side with yet, but I think I have a good system for figuring it out. Go down below and hit the subscribe button if you think we should go with the NCR, and hit the like button if you think we should go with any other faction. With that out of the way, let's head over to the top casino and speak with the floor manager Swank, who I tell about how Benny stole the platinum chip from me and tried to kill me, giving him all of the evidence I've gathered, and he gives me the key to Benny's room. I head up and find a Securitron named Yes Man in the room, and Yes Man tells me that Benny is planning to take over the strip by using him to take over Mr. House's network after tunneling into the Lucky 38 casino. I go ahead and tell Swank all about Benny's plan, and he tells me he'll get Benny to go back to his room alone. So I head up the elevator and confront Benny, who cannot be reasoned with using words, so I have to introduce him to a little shotgun diplomacy using my lever action shotgun. Oh, also, at this point I've taken the cowboy perk, and it means that my lever action shotgun is now the strongest weapon I have as of the moment, as it has a flat 25% damage buff. Anyways, with Benny dead, I head over to the NCR embassy and meet with Ambassador Crocker. He's a nice man who wants me to go make friends with the boomers for the NCR. While that sounds fun, there's some stuff I want to do before progressing the main story, starting with getting my caps from Mr. House. So I head over to the Lucky 38 and give him the platinum chip before being taken to the basement for an infomercial about the upgraded Securitrons, and returning to the penthouse where I tell Mr. House I won't be helping him, and this annoys him quite a bit, but I don't care as I got my caps. I then head over to the Mojave Outpost and use my speech skill to convince Cass into selling her caravan and to join me as a companion. I already spoke about the benefits of having Cass as a companion, but another one I didn't mention earlier was that she has the shotgun surgeon perk, and that her perks for doing her quests are incredibly useful for what I want her to do this run. So I plan to use her as a companion throughout this run and even do her quest line. But I don't want to make this too easy for myself, so to make it more of a downside for me to have her, I'm adding a rule about companions in this run. If Cass dies, I must reload my most recent save, so I cannot just use her as a disposable tank for one difficult section in this run. With that settled, I go turn in the quest to Alice, and it's here where Cass asks me, ooh, that was not fun. Cass asks, Cass asks, oh my lord, that is difficult. Cass asks me to go visit her caravan's wreck. I agree and take her to the site where her caravan was destroyed, and this kicks off a quest where we go visit various destroyed caravans to find out what happened to them. On the last caravan, we find out that the Crimson Caravan Company and the Van Graff Company are responsible for all of these caravans being destroyed, and Cass wants to kill their leaders. I ask her to give me time to find some evidence so we can bring them down legally, and she agrees to this. I then get distracted from finding dirt on the two companies and decide to head over to Westside, where I find a sewer entrance that leads to a place called the Thorn. It's here where I meet a woman named Red Lucy, and I attempt to flirt with her, and she admires my boldness but rejects me. More importantly, she asks me to go get some various eggs from the wasteland creatures for the Thorn, which is an arena where wasteland creatures are pitted against each other to fight to the death in a gambling system. I agree to help her find eggs, and she starts by sending me to find mantis eggs in Vault 22. I head over to the vault and start fighting through mantises and spore crawlers alike, and the combat is honestly a joke. At this point, I've acquired quite the menagerie of perks, and the fact that everything here is melee means I managed to clear the entire vault default without so much as breaking a sweat. I grab the mantis eggs and return them to Red Lucy, who sends me to find rat scorpion eggs next, so I head over to the Goodsprings graveyard and die a couple of times trying to kill all the giant rat scorpions before realizing that I don't have to kill them. I instead strip down to run faster and run past all of the rat scorpions to steal their eggs before heading back to the Thorn, where Red Lucy takes the eggs and sends me to get fire gecko eggs next. This is the first really scary task she gives me, and I spend 2 hours attempting to clear this cave and get the eggs. I die over and over and over again. And you know what? Over some more. Just all the over. Just die so many times. And I also at this point dismiss Cass, as she is more of a detriment in these missions, as she is too frail to tank the animals and will not run away for the life of her. I eventually manage to brute force my way through all of the fire geckos, mainly by using stealth boys and chems to get sneak criticals and enough damage to kill the geckos one by one. It's a real struggle, but eventually I clear out the cave and get the eggs for Red Lucy, who gives me my next task, which is to go get Night Stalker eggs. It's at this point I'm getting worried about my ability to complete this questline, as I know Cazadors and Deathclaws are coming up soon, and with how much I'm struggling to get through much weaker enemies, I'm not sure how well I'll fare, but I press on, making my way to Bitter Springs, where I use a doctor here to heal, before heading out to the cave itself, only to find fire geckos outside that nearly kill me. I managed to use this boulder to stay safe and wipe them out before getting healed once more at Bitter Springs and entering the Night Stalker cave, where I proceed to die quite a bit. Despite dying over and over, this cave was actually much easier than the Fire Gecko one, mainly due to my last Fallout New Vegas run where I had to fight through a ton of Night Stalkers, which gave me a leg up in knowing how to deal with them. My main strategy revolves around constantly jumping and backpedaling while shooting when I can. Kiting the Night Stalkers in this way is surprisingly effective, as when done correctly, you will never be hit by these snake dogs unless they manage to stagger their attacks at perfect timings. Anyways, I eventually clear out the cave and find a hunting shotgun inside, which will be useful later, but on my way out of the cave, I can't help but die once more to a grenade trap that was protecting a box. On my next attempt, I disable the trap only to find out I can't even loot the box because my lockpicking skill isn't high enough. That was a extremely frustrating cherry on top of this crap cake, but I return the eggs to Red Lucy and she gives me the next task, which is Cazador eggs. I'm not confident I'll be able to do this right now, so I decide to do some side questing, and I'll be honest here, it's a mess. I jumped between like 4 or 5 different quests and was struggling to figure out how to script this, but I've decided that I'll just go one quest at a time, and some of this will be out of order chronologically, but hopefully it makes better sense this way. All of the quests I decided to take on were from Camp McCarran, as I want to raise my fame with the NCR, and let's start doing that by speaking with the commanding officer here, Colonel James Shue. He tells me of a bunch of issues with the camp, and I decide to tackle the Legion prisoner first. He sends me to speak with Lieutenant Carrie Boyd, who asks me to beat up the prisoner for her, but doesn't allow me to have guns, so I can't. But fear not, I have a solution to this. I instead head inside the interrogation room a couple of times and taunt him until he gives up the fact that there is a spy in Camp McCarran, and with that I complete this unmarked quest and decide to take on my next quest from Private Morales to recover the body of her late husband, who was a ranger killed by fiends. Apparently the fiends have placed explosives near his body and are ambushing anyone who gets close. I head out and find an NCR barricade with a couple of soldiers that tell me I'm crazy for trying to recover the body, but I kinda just walk up and kill all the fiends on the rooftop with relative ease before avoiding a couple of traps and slowly dragging the body to those 2 NCR troopers from earlier. I then tell Private Morales that her husband has been recovered and she is very happy about it, but for whatever reason she's always holding this revolver, which is kind of off-putting. Anyways, I decide to then tackle the food issue of Camp McCarran by helping the chef repair his food processor and source some meat and spices. This was honestly really boring, as it turned into me just running around the wasteland, trading and talking to various people. Also, apparently you're supposed to be able to source 3 different deals from vendors to supply meats and spices, but for whatever reason, this bugged out on me and I was only able to get the deal with the Crimson Caravan, so I couldn't fully complete the quest, but I did manage to get all the parts to repair the food processor and secure that deal, and I also returned to Vault 22 and completed the quest there by downloading the data off the Vault server and saving this ghoul researcher woman. The main reason I went to the Vault though was to get this food additive for Chef, because it's going to increase the food quality here at the camp. And with the bug, which I did try and fix using console commands but just couldn't figure it out, that's all I can do to help with the meal quality here at Camp McCarran. With that done, it's time to tackle the next quest, which is to find out who the spy in Camp McCarran is. I speak with Lieutenant Boyd again, who tells me that someone has been sneaking into the air control tower at night, so I go ahead and investigate by sitting around outside next to the tower through most of the night until someone shows up and enters. I enter behind them to hear Captain Curtis, the man in charge of finding the spy, on the radio talking about bombing the monorail. This reveals that he is in fact the spy, so I confront him. He then points a gun at me, which was his last mistake, as I introduce him to my lever action and hunting shotguns respectively, who don't take too kindly to traitors. I then rush over to the monorail and defuse the bomb before reporting to Colonel Shu, who thanks me and gives me access to the NCR Ranger safe house. I then immediately head over to check it out, and inside I find a set of Ranger veteran armor, which I get repaired by Old Lady Gibson before proceeding to make my way over to the Crimson Caravan headquarters, where I lockpick this safe to find documents that incriminate the company. I then head over to Freeside and enter the Silver Rush after being searched by the door guard, and I attempt to pickpocket the key to the back room a couple of times only to fail each time, but eventually, after enough attempts, I manage to get the key and sneakily make my way into the back room, only to find that I need a higher lockpicking skill to get inside the safe there. So I need to level up, and I start off by heading over to the NCR safe house to deal with my sleep deprivation, and out of nowhere, Emily Ortle, the lady from the Followers of the Apocalypse, shows up in the safe house and asks me to put a bug in the Lucky 38. You know what? I respect the dedication she has, so I quickly run over to the casino and bug it, and then turn in the quest to her, which levels me up, allowing me to get a high enough lockpicking skill to return to the Silver Rush and get the evidence against the Van Graffs. I go tell Cass, and she says we should take the evidence to Ranger Jackson at the Mojave Outpost, but I want to get both of her perks, so I quickly go through the quest where you take a job at the Silver Rush to be a door guard, and I let the man with the bomb blow up the place before killing the other door guard. I then head over to the Mojave Outpost and give Ranger Jackson the evidence, which completes the quest and gives Cass the Calm Heart perk, which increases her maximum health. I then head over to the Crimson Caravan HQ and kill Alice in her sleep before running away and speaking with Cass to get her the Hand of Vengeance perk, increasing her damage with guns. Now that I've gone through all of the trouble of getting these perks for Cass, I immediately dismiss her. Honestly, I'm starting to think I might be a little bit shit at prioritizing things. Anyways, I dismissed her so I could go and get the Cazador eggs for Red Lucy, and I don't think she'll survive if I bring her. Regardless, I think I'm strong enough now to take on these horrid creatures, so I head over and start fighting my way through the Cazadors, which are all along this mountain path in small groups, and honestly, this was much easier than the Fire Geckos or Night Stalkers, mostly because I wasn't trapped in a cave. I still die a few times, but I was able to keep my distance and chip away at their health without being detected, and when they do get close, I use VATS to cripple their wings, making them much less of a threat. I eventually kill all of the vile bugs and collect their eggs for Red Lucy, who tells me there's only one task left. Deathclaw eggs, here it is. I have been dreading this for a little while, but she told me 2 different places to find eggs, one of which being Quarry Junction, and the other being a cave. Given my experiences with caves thus far in this run, I'm sure as hell going with Quarry Junction. I make my way to the quarry and start killing Deathclaws, which, while tedious, was surprisingly easy. I just took up a position on the cliffside and used my shotgun to kill off the Deathclaws one by one. It wasn't very efficient, and I had to leave to buy ammo like 5 times, you know, because shotguns aren't particularly accurate at these distances, but I do manage to kill all of the Deathclaws just by firing at them for about 2 hours with all of my shotguns going through thousands of shotgun shells. I grab the eggs and turn them in to Red Lucy, who gives me the dinner bell shotgun before taking me back to her room for a good rest after all my hunting. Oh, also I turned in the quest to clear Quarry Junction for the town of Sloan as well, which was a nice little reward. I then decide to go befriend the Boomers for the NCR by heading over to Nellis Air Force Base, where I try and use some advice you all gave me through the comments to get through the Boomers artillery, but I just end up dying twice before doing it the way that I know how to. I then meet Raquel and Mother Pearl and agree to help them out with their issues. I start off by listening to the history of the Boomers at their museum before heading off and picking up some quests from Jack, Loyal, and Raquel. The first quest I decide to tackle is Ants Misbehaving, where I have to go into their generator room and clear it of ants while turning the generators back on. The ants aren't that much of an issue, but I do end up dying once because VATS just kept me in the VATS animation for like forever, and Cass decided to shoot one of the warheads, causing everything to blow up while I was killing the last ant. Other than that, my shotgun makes quick work of all of the ants before returning to Raquel to turn in the quest. I then spend a while going back and forth between the Crimson Caravan HQ and Nellis Air Force Base, speaking with Janet and Jack to help the star-crossed lovers meet, completing the Young Hearts quest. I then head out of the Air Force Base, making my way over to Helios 1 Solar Array to get parts to repair the solar array at Nellis. I start by talking with Lieutenant Haggerty, who says I can speak with the idiot wearing sunglasses if I want to help. So I do just that and get the rundown on how I need to clear the main tower and get the 2 terminals outside functioning to be able to get the solar array working again. I quickly go through and grab all the salvage parts for Nellis and then reset the connection on the 2 terminals outside by disarming some traps and killing some dogs. I then head inside the main tower to fight through all kinds of robots and turrets, and this was incredibly ammo intensive as sentry bots take multiple reloads of ammo to down, but luckily I have Cass here to help with soaking up some of the damage from all of the various robots inside. After a long and hard-fought battle, I make my way to the control room and use a Poseidon ID card to activate this robot to fix the generator, and then I divert all the power from the station to the strip in Camp McCarran. I then head up to the reflector platform and flip a switch, and after that, it's done. I head back to Fantastic, completing the quest, and return to Nellis, where I repair all the solar panels and turn in the quest to Loyal. I then turn in some scrap metal to Jack and complete the Volaire quest by speaking with Mother Pearl, who asks me to speak with Loyal about some big project. I head over and speak with Loyal, who tells me to go swimming in the nearby Lake Mead to place some balloons under the wings of a crashed bomber and raise it from the depths of the lake. With the bomber recovered, I return to Loyal and Pearl, completing the Boomers questline and gaining their support in the upcoming battle for Hoover Dam. I then return to Ambassador Crocker and tell him the good news before he sends me off to go smooth things over with the Kings and Freeside. I head over and start this questline with the Kings, and honestly, this video is getting a bit long in the tooth, so I'm going to go ahead and gloss over this bit. I find out that a bodyguard is scamming people to make a killing. I find out that the NCR are providing food and water, but only for NCR citizens. This was actually really cool. They have a test where if you've played the first 2 games of the Fallout franchise, you can pass it pretty easily, but otherwise you'd probably have to ask more questions around and figure it out through the game itself. Anyways, the fact that the NCR is only giving food and water to NCR citizens makes the Kings unhappy, so a man named Pacer attacks them and I end up having to kill him, which didn't feel right. So I go ahead and do this quest all over again, and this time I find out that I need to speak with Julie, who is a member of the Followers of Apocalypse, to get the best ending to this quest, which involves me telling the king that the NCR tried to send someone to coordinate a relief effort for everyone in Freeside, but Pacer, for whatever reason, beat the messenger within an inch of his life. This results in me being able to speak with the leader of the NCR relief group and convince her to let the Kings help with the relief effort, and it's a happy ending. I then report to Crocker once more, who sends me to go speak with Colonel Moore at the Hoover Dam. After a long conversation, she reveals that she wants me to either wipe out the Great Khans or prevent them from helping the Legion. I agree to do so, and on my way out, I speak with the quartermaster, who is selling so much shotgun ammo that I quickly buy. I'm super happy I found out out about this because I've been struggling to keep my guns fed with ammo. I head off towards Red Rock Canyon, but on my way to Red Rock Canyon, I get a little sidetracked and casually decide to kill all of the Fiend's leadership, and while a while ago I decided to stop doing montages, this one just feels right, so I'm not gonna pass it up, and I hope you enjoy this shotgun spree. With the Fiends wiped off God's green flat earth, I make my way over to Red Rock Canyon and forget that I'm wearing NCR armor, which causes them to attack me on sight. After killing everyone in the Longhouse, I decide to reload a save to see if I can get a more peaceful resolution, but after spending a while confused, I decide it's much easier for me to just wipe them out. So I go ahead and kill everyone in the Longhouse again, and it's quite honestly a really fun slaughter. Me and Cass proceed to dish out death in a variety of shell types as we continue to clear the Longhouse and the canyons themselves. It takes a while and the cons aren't really all that much of a threat to me, but eventually, through sheer weight of gunpowder and pellets, we manage to kill off every last con in Red Rock Canyon, leaving little more than food for vultures when we are done. I then return to Colonel Moore. You wanna go meet the Colonel? I return to Colonel. I return to Colonel Moore and report the success before she sends me off to find out what's going on at the Gamorra Casino on the Vegas Strip. This quest, as always, was incredibly easy for me. I end up just buying a sawn-off shotgun to sneak into the casino before going through the questline with Cachino, which involves me stealing his diary and using it against him to find out exactly what's going on at the casino. Apparently, the leaders want to attack the strip during the Battle of Hoover Dam, and naturally, I use a bunch of thermite to destroy their weapon stockpile before heading up to meet with the bosses myself. I then get into a fight with the bosses using my sawn-off shotgun, and with the help of Cachino, I manage to kill off both leaders, leaving Cachino in charge of the Gamorra. Returning to Moore, she tells me that I did a good job before ordering me to kill House in, honestly, a kind of casual way, which is pretty funny to me. Anyways, it's at this point when I notice that when I brought Cass into Gamorra, that a glitch happened and all of the weapons I gave her have disappeared. I try fixing this by entering and exiting the casino a bunch of times, but eventually I decide to just use console commands to clip through the wall and grab the weapons back myself because I had a lot of weapons on her. I then head up to the penthouse of the Lucky 38 and use this terminal to open a secret door that leads to an elevator that can take me to Mr. House. I have to use my shotgun to knock down a few Securitrons to keep them from blowing me away, but I manage to use the elevator and kill Mr. House before returning to Colonel Moore once more. And this time she tells me to go wipe out the Brotherhood of Steel, but I don't want to do that, so instead I head over to the Repcon headquarters and use my lockpicking and sneak skills to grab the mission holotapes off some dead Brotherhood members. Earlier I grabbed another set of holotapes off the members outside of Nellis Air Force Base, and this just leaves the patrol near Black Mountain. This time I decide to head up to the top of Black Mountain and kill all the super mutants and Nightkin up there, and the fight with them was brutal. They are incredibly tanky and deal a lot of damage, but I'm able to eventually cut down every last Nightkin and super mutant at the summit before making my way down to the Centaur pit, where I used Dragon's Breath ammo to kill all of the Centaurs and grab the last mission holotape. Honestly, this was a really fun little bit of combat, and it was challenging despite the fact that I didn't die at all. I then enter the bunker at Hidden Valley, but once again I forget that I'm wearing NCR armor and I quickly die to the Brotherhood inside. For whatever reason, I didn't connect the dots while I was playing, so I decided to go pick pick up Veronica so she could get me inside the bunker, and then I dismiss her. After that, I speak with Elder McNamara and turn in the holotapes to start the quest line to help the Brotherhood. His next task is for me to meet up with various scouts around the Mojave, and I do just that, meeting the first two with ease, collecting their reports for the Elder, but on the third scout, I decide to take it upon myself to clear Nelson of the Legion scum, and this fight was fun. It makes me hopeful that the battle for Hoover Dam will be easy because cutting down all these Legion soldiers was honestly a cakewalk. After that, I pick up the scout's report and head over to Camp Forlorn Hope to help them out. I start off by finding some supplies for the quartermaster, which involves killing some Legion soldiers who ambush the group carrying the supplies to the camp. Then I help the doctor perform various surgeries on all the soldiers that were wounded recently. With that, I complete all the quests here and head back to the Brotherhood bunker, turning in the reports to the Elder, and he sends me to speak with a Knight Torres who apparently found some issue with the bunker's air filtration system. The Knight sends me out to find various components to fix the system, and all of these components are in vaults around the Mojave, two of which, Vault 3 and 22, I had already cleared, so I basically just walked into those two and grabbed the components. But on the third vault, I had to fight through various bits of wildlife that had been infesting the vault, and this wouldn't be worth mentioning if it wasn't for the fact that one of the giant mantis managed to kill me by setting off a grenade trap, which was pretty funny. Other than that, I just swim through some water to find the last component before returning to Knight Torres, who thanks me and sends me to speak with the Elder. The Elder thanks me as well, and I ask to join the Brotherhood of Steel. He says I may, but first I need to install a bug in the radio station of Black Mountain. Huh. I usually always just get Hardened to be the Elder because that's a much easier route, so I didn't even know this. I thought I'd already have it done by killing the Van Graffs, so I guess it's good that I cleared out Black Mountain because that's just one less thing to do. I head back there and release Raoul from his prison before fighting through Tabitha and her Nightkin allies. This fight was stressful. Tabitha and her Nightkin masters are incredibly tanky, and at one point she runs and grabs a minigun, which gets me really anxious, but mostly thanks to the knockdown effect that I'm able to do with the shotguns, I am able to kill them all before planting the bug and returning to the Elder so I can join the Brotherhood of Steel. After all is said and done, I tell the Elder that the NCR wants me to wipe them out, and he offers an alliance between the Brotherhood and the NCR, and I return to Moore to tell her the good news, and for whatever reason, it gives me NCR infamy, which is really annoying. Despite that, I get told to go protect the president of the NCR, who is coming to visit Hoover Dam soon, and I start by speaking with the ranger running security, but I forgot to ask for access to the entire facility, and this leads to me dying while trying to stop the bomber. On my next attempt, the president ends up dying when his vertibird blows up, and I was debating just going on with the dead president, but I kinda just want to save him, so I instead reload an earlier save, and this time I make sure to get access to the entire facility. I pickpocket this engineer to get the detonator for the bomb he's gonna place on the vertibird before killing the sniper in the watchtower and reporting all of this to the ranger. This saves the president, and I speak with Moore one last time, who sends me to speak with General Oliver. As I'm speaking with Oliver, the Legion starts their attack on Hoover Dam, and it's up to me to defend it, and oh boy, this was a difficult fight. I die many times. Like, honestly, an excessive amount of times. I have like 50 clips of me dying, and that's after I deleted a bunch of the clips of me dying because there's just too many of them and it was taking up too much space. The Legion have a ton of Centurions that are incredibly tanky and have decent weaponry to boot. I have to use the NCR soldiers and occasional Brotherhood member to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and even then, I find myself dying many times. The fight through the dam was rough, but the fight on top of the dam was downright brutal. Most of the Legion Centurions on the top of the dam have marksman carbines, making them absolutely lethal, and even Cass, with her increased health pool and rocking power armor, dies to them in under a minute. So I have to get clever in order to get through this section, and after dying many more times, I managed to find out that I can sneak in to the towers on the dam and go undetected. This means that the Legion troops run away after killing all of the NCR backup, and I can sneak past them. This works a couple of times, but eventually I make my way over to the camp on the other side of the dam, and this turned out to be my new home for the next 4 Hours. I wish I was making that up. This just going through the Legates camp took me 4 hours of my life. It was brutal. I die dozens of times trying to fight Legate Lanius, and this is now tied with Fallout London's final fight for just how brutal it was. My shotguns do very little damage to the Legate, and I also have to contend with him calling in a bunch of Legion allies, including a bunch of Legion troops hiding out on ridgelines nearby with marksman carbines. It was truly a hellish battle of attrition, and the only thing that made it remotely possible was the knockdown effect of my shotguns. At a certain point, I considered loading an earlier save to go get the riot shotgun because I wasn't sure this was possible, and I also really want to quickly address why I didn't get the riot shotgun in this run. It's mostly because, as I said at the beginning, Dinner Bell is my favorite shotgun, and if I had the riot shotgun, I doubt I'd actually be using Dinner Bell because it is superior. I will not argue with you on that. This was a suboptimal choice, but it was a choice that I made consciously. I really wanted to kill the Legate using Dinner Bell, so this is what I did. I wasn't entirely sure that this was possible, but after many attempts, I eventually managed to just barely kill the Legate without me or Cass dying, and Cass died a lot, forcing me to reload. And then I head over and speak with General Oliver while answering the question, can I beat Fallout New Vegas's very hardcore difficulty with only shotguns? Yes I can. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a challenge suggestion down below. I'd like to thank my channel members and patrons as their support has been tremendous, and if you like this run, you'll probably like the challenge run where I tried to beat Fallout 4 with only shotguns. You all are beautiful, and this is Willow, signing off.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.